Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 300. 300 episodes. Holy cow.
300?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is the love child of me and Matthew Stafford, Andy. How you doing, brother? Glad to have you.
Classic Lions game. I've seen this so many times. It's, it's like a warm hug on a cold night. Just used to it.
All right. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about what happened, what we saw, our take. We'll, of course, get your takes. We'll take your calls today. We'll talk about it. A little bit of a therapy session, that, and a whole lot more. We got a great show lined up. Andy, you ready to go, brother?
I'm ready.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of very, very quick announcements. First, special thanks to Dylan from
Guam.
That's right, because he's a Patreon guy with Mathis, Brian B., Floundericious, guy from High Prevail, Brian Brookhiser, all good, cool people. Hang out with us and donate via Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. If you donate, you will have access to the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet on our Slack. Just go to patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. As little as $1 a month donation or more will get you access to literally the best place to talk about football with the coolest people. Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast, and on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. Give us that follow, DET Lions Podcast, the very, very best place to see Andy
with no pants on.
God dang right. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, or youtube.com/DLP Clips. DLP Clips, we got the time when you don't. We'll give you the little shorter, bite-sized chunks of information. So make sure you subscribe to both those things. Hit the notification bell. Rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you find us. Pandora, Amazon, all those. Give us those 5-star reviews. We appreciate that. And if you can't, then, go to the subreddit.
Kick rocks.
Tell us why. We're happy to work with it. Okay, that's it. Let's get the phones open up here in a second and roll.
Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review This Week in Reddit.
And it's time to talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And there's maybe more stuff going down in Reddit than there is in in Lions Land, but we're here to talk Lions. So, Andrew, this game was a story, like you said, we've seen before. But this is just a game like they woke up hungover, right? I mean, that's kind of how I feel a little bit. I just didn't have a lot of energy today. I was tired. It felt good to just kind of plop into the couch and watch football, even though it was bad football. But they just didn't. They weren't in it today. Stafford was off. The whole team just seemed to be not quite right on the field today.
This game just looked like non-preparation. And we've seen these games from Patricia coach teams before where they just don't look like they're fully prepared.
Yep.
They came in trying to run the football against, the third best run defense in the league when we, still haven't really been a good rushing team, wasting downs, wasting opportunities. Not that you should pass 100% of the time, but a waste nonetheless. Defense took a step back, way more man, way less pressure. We just saw a lot of what we saw earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Just a big step back, all the way around. It just flat.
Yeah. Flat is a great word. Unprepared. It felt like the idea of running against this team didn't work well, but what choice did you have when Matthew Stafford wasn't delivering the ball like Matthew Stafford? Got that super chat from Loretto. Thank you so much. F on defense. F- on offense, D- on defense. It's 100% on Stafford. It starts the Stafford period. It all starts the Stafford period. We can't ask the defense to play 40 minutes with no rest, and that was a huge thing in the first half. We had the ball for 5 minutes, time of possession, something stupid like that. And the defense played a whole game basically in the first half, and still had a second half to play. Obviously. I don't want to say obviously because they didn't really look that gassed on the field, but they just couldn't. They were just slower and couldn't quite compete with the Colts, and it is probably a result of playing so much defensive football in that first half.
I mean, what we saw was, and I hate to say it again, literally what it looked like in the first 2 games of the year, where without Galladay on the field, Stafford has nobody that he fully trusts or nobody that gets open fast enough or nobody that he can throw 60-40 balls to, that he knows Galladay will block out. There was a couple drops early, but really our offensive line looked the worst it's looked all year. Just awful, awful, awful. And it's hard for me to put a loss like this fully on Stafford when, the defense looked okay early, but, when you can't rush the football and you're still being asked to rush, pass the whole first half, and you're, I think there was 11 carries for 8 yards total by us.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
How
That's
many 3
ludicrous.
and outs, man?
That's a crazy stat.
How many 3 and outs did we have? Let's take a call here. See what's going on. Hey, caller, what's your name? How much have you had to drink so far?
Hey, this is Kenyon. Once again, haven't called in since I think the Packers game.
Boy, here we are. Lucky call.
Oh yeah. Had about I don't know. I don't know. A bit of Jaeger, we'll say. How much exactly is questionable. Just had to chime in as soon as I saw you talking about Stafford. Thank you, Sandman, for defending my guy a little bit. I'll say, particularly in the first half, I thought Stafford was doing a great job with calling out protections. He was bringing in Hawk to help him out a little bit, give him a little extra time. I agree. I think this one is more on the offensive line than anybody. And yeah, Bevel didn't put him in the best spots, but I think this one was pretty much just pure execution. And anybody saying this is Matt's fault, I mean, he was on the run the whole game. He was doing everything he could to try to give us a chance, and it just wasn't enough today against a pretty good Indianapolis defense.
There was a whole lot of sidearm action going on today, and sometimes when he didn't need it. He's doing the jazz thing when he starts really sidearm slinging it. And he was out there dancing. He had his tap shoes on. I mean, it was...
he had 8
that line.
8 pressures, or he was hit 8 times rather.
Yep.
They weren't all sacks, but he was hit 8 times.
Crosby?
Right.
I mean, he was doing so good this first half of the season. I don't know why you pull him out just to put in Vaitai. I know Andres was talking about on the chat that Bob Quinn and Patricia just don't want to look bad signing a guy for a bunch of money and not playing them, but honestly, if Crosby's playing better, just put him in and give yourself a chance to win. At least then you give yourself a chance to come back next year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been kind of talking about this all of last year and most of this year now. They're doing weird stuff with the offensive line. They're rotating dudes. They're pulling guys out. It's hard as an offensive lineman to get in a rhythm when there's no rhythm to be had because you're getting pulled out and moved. And, it really just didn't make any sense when they put Vaitai at right tackle and they put him out there. And immediately he gave up a sack. And it was a bad sack.
First play,
yep. I don't know what this coaching staff is trying to do with that. I don't understand why they've been doing it for 2 years in a row now. All I know is it hasn't worked and they need to friggin' stop. And it's killing me.
And when Vaitai was out, it was a solid offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
It worked great.
I don't know if it looked better.
Yeah.
Well, and also they were putting Dahl on the right side when he's been taking reps at left since forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking him to completely go the opposite with the footwork of what he's been doing for his entire career, and you expect that to somehow hold up when at least, maybe Jackson's a rookie, but he at least started out the season on right guard. Maybe you want him to be the left guard of the future, but he started out on right, and he's been doing good there. Just keep going with what's working. That's what frustrates me the most, is they're unwilling to go away from stuff that isn't working in terms of the coaching staff, and they're staying with this stuff that isn't working, and it's just so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening to watch that play out. Here we got a super chat. Stafford equals washed up. This is a good one for you, Kenyon. You got defense equals no identity, blow the whole damn thing up, and we may play better. Too much reliance has been. Do you see us getting any better? What do you think, Andy, about getting better? Do you think you see that happening?
Well, the last 2 weeks we saw the defense appear to take a step forward in play a little, looked better. But as a whole, I don't think that this team is, getting better. We're in year 3, with Patricia, and, you can look at my background here. We had at least two plays with 10 men on the field that were vital to the game. I don't know how that happens. That should never happen. I don't know if we're getting better. Obviously, we play against teams that are good, and then this is what happens. The Saints, this game, 28 points given up in a row. Like, that doesn't happen to good teams. I think it's safe to say that we're not a good team, and I don't think I'm gonna blow anybody's mind by saying that.
No, you're definitely on it.
You didn't blow my mind. Let me put it that way. Let's. I think this team, and when we think about getting better, I think this team is an 8-8 team. I think we're going to beat bad teams. I think we're going to lose to good teams, and I think that's just the team that we're looking at this year. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know if it means meaningful games in December or not.
Chris, who's the other 5? I mean, you got Houston. Even they don't even have a head coach, and they're still putting up 35, 30, 40 points a game. The Vikings just beat the Packers today. We've got them twice. I'm not sure we could beat the Bears here or the Packers a second time. I'm not sure that we can find 5 more wins.
I think we can.
Maybe 6-10 is.
I think we can beat the Vikings, even though they beat the Packers. Them and the Packers, for some reason, just put up points like crazy. They are built for each other. But you see what the Vikings have done the rest of the season, other than against Green Bay, and they haven't done anything. So I feel like we can do well against the Vikings. I don't. The Texans are an interesting group for sure, right? But I think the Panthers with the way they've been playing, they have no wide receiver threat. So I think we can start stacking the box on that. Washington's a win. I mean, at least one of your Vikings games you pull out, and I feel like you probably take out the Bears too, unless they really are what they look like. I think this is an 8-8 team. I think you're going to get to 8. You wind up 7-9 is a possibility. There's no question about it. When there was hope for the that Packers, Titans, Bucks run there towards the end of the season, maybe we could steal one. I don't know. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening with this team.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Justin Rogers.
As long as we win at Thanksgiving.
That'd be nice. But Justin Rogers.
My family.
Oh, go ahead. But Justin Rogers brought up via Twitter an interesting point, which was everybody keeps bringing up 9-7 is not good enough. 9-7 is not good enough. But the rest of the quote talks about how not beating good teams is unacceptable.
Yep.
And now we're looking at that, where we're winning against bad teams. We're still not winning against bad or good teams, and we're getting blown out by good teams. We're not talking about close losses here. We're talking about big-time blowouts, first the Saints and the Colts now. It's just it's getting harder and harder to keep rationalizing. Even if we get into a meaningful game in December, if it's similar to this where every team that's better than us blows us out and we look like this, I don't see how this is any different than the end of the Caldwell regime, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. And I got to give a shout out to Matt. Thanks for super chat. He said that was rough. I had to stop at halftime to get productive on other stuff. That's sometimes the right thing to do, right?
Yes. Yep.
You Justin, bringing up the thing from Justin is absolutely ideal. The 9-7 isn't good enough thing wasn't a promise to be 9-7 every time, right? It's been taken out of context. It wasn't, it's been taken out of context and applied kind of in a dumb way. But exactly the part about beating good teams is the part where that's the hook. That's the one where the real rubber meets the road, as the team isn't performing, and whatever games you're playing in December may not be meaningful enough. So, hey, caller, I'm going to let you fly.
Sure.
You good?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Matt Stafford for life, but Kyle Trask mid-round.
All right, Kenyon. Thanks for calling, bro.
You have no problem.
All right, we'll see you. Kyle Trask, huh? I've seen him living here. I'm I don't know. All right, we'll see him at the Senior Bowl, I'm sure. For me, the greatest and most important thing about this game was the adjustments coming out of the half after the first half. It was 100% on coaching, but offense let us down by not sustaining. Loretto, thanks for that super chat. Absolutely right. That was I came in, that drive we did, we walked on the field, we scored, we looked pretty good. I was like, we made an adjustment. We made a halftime adjustment. This is good. Okay, we're going to do something here. This is a new half. And then they just choked. And then they just stumbled and stopped. And it's like, what did we do? Did we adjust and then unadjust? Or, I mean...
the Colts readjusted.
Yeah, they adjusted our offensive line for us.
Yeah.
Really did it. Let's see. You got Stafford needs to go. No, I don't think he needs to go. He's in a crappy situation. He has been for most of his career. Joey, you're right. The ceiling's 8-8, and the floor is 6-10 on this team. That's probably a good range for where you're at. Not going to beat good teams. We'll beat the bad teams, and at the end of we're going to be drafting like 13th and get a tight end. I'm just teasing. Sorry. All right. Can we talk about Danny Shelton's penalty?
Ugh. Part of me doesn't know, and I hope that somebody gets to talk to the refs at the end of the game and ask the question: was the penalty for Phillips Rivers' takedown, or was it after? Because there was two refs that were right there, standing next to it when Rivers went down, and they didn't throw the flag. Came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Shelton was away from the pile. Maybe they called the wrong number on accident, but I didn't see anything in that pile that warranted a flag like that. And if anything, the Colts were the guys pushing people. NFL, man, where you get certain refs and a game can literally go your way, and you get other refs and it won't go your way.
It wasn't a
NFL.
game changer. I mean, I think it might have been a pivot point, but it shouldn't have shut a team down that early in the game, something like that happening. But man, they felt like they needed to throw a flag, obviously, because of the pushing and shoving afterward. The flag didn't come out until after the pushing and shoving started calming down, right? They went through the whole match and all that. It was a flag that came out 8-10 seconds after the play was over.
Yep.
And then they call that. Nah. This was the refs throwing a flag because they knew they felt like they had to get control of the game and throw a flag. And then they called an absolute crap call on him. He didn't land on him. He was literally on him as he threw the ball. That was just a terrible call. That was absolute garbage. And we'll get Blandino. Blandino's going to be on the St. Jude show, so we'll be sure to ask about this and have a conversation. I mean, he made him do it so that we would have something to talk about.
And you're right. That wasn't the moment that the game ended, but when you're a team like the Lions, if you get enough things like that, where one bad move gives up a touchdown, two plays later they scored a touchdown on what should have been a punt. It's really hard to overcome like stuff like that when you're the Lions.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
It just is.
A ton of yards just threw in your face there. Hey, caller, give me 1 second here. I just got to read a super chat. Cliff, he's nervous that this team pulls off 4 or 5 more wins against bad teams, and the staff is here next year for more of the same. I'm ready to move on. I don't know, Cliff. I don't think 8-8 is good enough to save the coaching staff here. I really, really like Matt Patricia. I like a lot of things about him. I just don't like the results of the games. That's really the thing that really frustrates me the most, because he's a guy that's really likable. Having been able to talk to him a little and do the whole Wings and Hooters girls things with him at a Senior Bowl last year, he's a good dude. He's a dude that you can really root for. But man, this stinks. Man, this stinks. All right, caller, what's your name? How many have you had to drink so far?
My name's Logan, and I've had just one to drink so far, but
good.
pretty sad day.
Yeah.
More to come.
Yes, I agree.
What do you got for us, Logan?
Yeah, just a couple things I want to touch on. Today obviously was a huge disappointment, but I think first off with Stafford, I don't think it's the fact that Stafford is declining. I think it's his receivers just can't get separation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, you look at Galladay, he gets those contested catches because he just can't get the separation. And even more so when he's out of the game. Like, you got Marvin Hall out there who's fast, and he was getting some, but at that point they're playing a much more lenient defense. So I guess the question is, do you think for the trade deadline here in a couple of days, should Lions look at maybe trying to get someone like Will Fuller? I know he's fast and he can take the top off. I guess other than that, the other thing is, another part of me wants to say I agree with whoever just had a super chat there, is I don't want to see this coaching staff again necessarily next season.
Yeah.
So, if they have these losses here, like, I'm kind of be happy to see them gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they're going to do anything to. I mean, you look at today; they just were totally outcoached from the beginning, and that's a good team there. And Jaguars are not good. That's the only time that we looked really good, and then Falcons are not good.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts.
Well, I can tell you right away that wide receiver is going to be a big need this offseason no matter what. So if they were to trade for a Will Fuller, depending on what they gave up, obviously, but this upcoming draft is going to be super deep in wide receivers, and I would expect the Lions to take two or three guys, depending on whoever's our GM at the time, because we literally have nobody in the locker room right now. They can franchise Galladay or sign him, and it will be him and Cephas, and that's it.
Yep.
That's not great, especially when you have Cephas inactive for a game. Where turns out we could have used him towards the end there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this has been the common theme the entire season is wide receivers not getting separation at all. They just aren't getting open. Stafford is going through his progressions twice. There's a couple times during the game that you'll literally see him go from right to left the entire time and then go back all the way to the right. And when you've got a defense that does what the Colts did to us today, which is get in his face in a quarter second, there's no time for him to do anything. The wide receivers aren't getting open anywhere. And, it takes Stafford dancing around, like Chris said. All the big plays we had today were Stafford doing a jig, spinning around, getting out of the pocket, under duress to make the throw. And, I think the Lions 100% need wide receiver help. And I think they need scheme help a little bit. I think Bevel needs to do a better job getting wide receivers open via scheme.
Yep.
And I'll hit it again we talked about it, but out of 128 people with last week's Next Gen stats, Kenny Galladay was 124th on separation. That's not a wide receiver one separation stat. And it's different, right? Hawkinson was 17th, but yeah, he's playing against linebackers. We know he's playing against different kind of coverage and stuff. But Deebo Samuel's number 2 on separation, 5.1 yards. And he's, you know what I mean? He's not.
Can you imagine a wide receiver having 5 yards of separation in this offense?
I can't imagine. I can't even imagine.
Our running backs don't have 5 yards of separation at the snap.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And you saw it again with Galladay. We talk about it. Look, Galladay makes catches. He didn't make catches today. He had a couple throws that weren't great, but if you look, he really didn't have separation. The one throw that was at his shins, he had a little bit of separation there in a crossing route. But otherwise, people were all over him. They blanketed him every time he was on the field, and it was just ugly. It was ugly. He's if he's our best hope at wide receiver, and he is right now, and maybe next season, depending on how the draft and free agency goes, you're in for a hard road. You're in for a really hard road. You can't play with wide receivers like we have. You just can't. You can't win, especially with Galladay gone, and it shuts everything down. That's bad news. That's real bad news. Waxo, thanks, man. Appreciate the super chat. Stafford's demeanor looks totally defeated right now, and that's tough. He's
tired.
This year,
he's tired. You could see it.
Next year left in his contract. He's at 2 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but he's tired. He's tired of guys running wrong routes. We saw the same thing. I think we talked about it every week thus far, where he'll throw a ball and there's 3 Lions guys within 2 yards of each other. How does that happen? He's got to be so tired of being the only guy that knows what's going on, or seemingly being the only guy that knows what's going on. He makes bad throws just like everybody every once in a while. But, man, when your wide receivers aren't getting open, when they're not doing what they're supposed to do, it's hard to have a good demeanor, especially at this point in your career.
The only demeanor is a misdemeanor at this point. Yeah, no, it's a tough go. There's a lot of people happy to see the coaches gone. Here we are at November 1st. This is the date that I called out, right, as what we'll see. We got those couple wins. I also said this Colts game was going to be pivotal to determine what kind of Lions team we have. And I think we know now. And I think now is where you really start to put your goggles on coach watch and see what happens. I don't know who you name to take over the team if you fire Patricia. Darrell Bevell has his hands full trying to make the offense work, right? I don't know about Corey Unlin. Is it Braden
Don
Coombs?
Molbeck.
Yeah, Molbeck. He can be a player coach. I don't know what you do if you're the Lions at this point about with the whole coaching thing.
I think at this point that we're going to see him the rest of the season no matter what. I don't think they're going to get rid of him now mid-season anymore.
Yep.
But I think, the last couple of weeks of the season, he will 100% be a lame duck coach, and we will 100% have a lame duck GM.
Yeah. The GM thing is interesting. We'll have to have that talk. We'll have to talk about that. We have plenty of time coming up next Friday. Hey, Logan, I'm going to let you go, brother. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. Let me talk really quick about the St. Jude thing because a lot of stuff is coming together here over the course of the last little bit. First, we've got $150 matching for St. Jude today. Let me put that link up there. stjude.org/DLP. That is coming right away, and I think you guys are really going to want to take part. We got $150 matching today from Floundericious and crew. So at $150 raised at stjude.org/DLP, we'll match those funds to another $150. So your money up to $150 turns into $300. That's a pretty good deal. These guys, I really appreciate Flounder putting this together. He's getting guys together to do matching funds for us. We're just under $1,500. We're at $1,419 raised so far. We haven't even gotten started the event yet, so that's kind of cool.
Very, very cool.
Again, it's stjude.org/DLP. Get in there. Just give 10, 20, 50, whatever you got handy, and let's get that matching. Let's get those matching funds so we can boost this up. Okay. We got the big show coming on Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. It starts at 9 a.m. Friday morning. Tell everybody you know about it. We've got Lions players. We're going to have Hank Fraley. We're going to have, hold on, I got a whole list of Billy Sims is joining us. We got Dan Miller, Jim Brandstatter, and Tony Ortiz. I'm having a hard time today, brother. All joining us to talk. Blandina will talk. We'll talk about that that penalty today and more. We're waiting still for Wayne Fonts, a couple other people, a whole bunch of big guests, some national ones as well that we're getting inked. Lawrence Jackson, LoJack, is going to join us as well. He's a great guy on Twitter, smart cat. Justin Rogers is going to join us so we can talk about some Lions stuff with him as well. Big stuff. 24 hours of podcasting, raising money for St. Jude. stjude.org/DLP. Get in there and help us out. Help bring Christmas to the kids. But yeah, biggest thing is let everyone know. Get to Wayne Fonsatori. Get people to listen to the show and donate. Football or not, then let's do it. I got a ping in the Slack just now. When we have Fraley on the show, should we ask if he's open to being the interim coach? I don't want to go there, man. That's one question that's they're doing us a favor to come on our show, and I want to make sure that we treat them well.
Got to be hospitable.
Yeah. Yes. So there we go. Okay. Let's see. Fonts. Yeah, maybe get Fonts back coaching. That'd be get back to the playoffs. All right, hit us up. 248-782-8384, 248-782-8384. We're taking your calls. You can ring-a-ding us and make it all work. All right. Let's keep going. Sam, what do you think? I mean, is it go back and put Crosby on the right side, Vaitai at guard, and move Dahl back? What's the prescription at offensive line for this team right now?
I think that I think the offensive line is what it is. I think they played poorly today. I think part of it was that they didn't look prepared for what the Colts were doing.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts have a very good defensive line when you look at it on paper, and I think they put it together today.
Yep.
I think Vaitai still just isn't making his money here, and even when he's at guard, seems passable sometimes. Other times he's not. It's just hard. It's hard to plan a game around that. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning of the game, we could see Bevel had some 7-step drops.
Yep.
There was no way you should have 7-step drops versus D-line.
No.
So they must have thought that their O-line was going to hold up better than it did. They made a few adjustments at halftime, and then the Colts made their adjustments. And that was kind of that. I don't foresee the O-line being a problem in the future per se, but they had a really, really bad outing today.
The Colts being 5-2 with Phil Rivers as a quarterback shows you how important that play in the trenches is, because they excel on the O-line and on the D-line. That's where their best players are on that team. And they were able to take control of this game strictly because they were so good in the trenches. And all the other players that we have in all the different positions, it's meaningless if you get destroyed in the line. So that was heart-wrenching to watch that O-line get blown up like that, because they held together so well this season. It was a strength prior to today, and now here we are. Oh, God. All right. Let's see. Again, doing your calls if you would like. 248-782-8384. 248-782-8384. All right. Sandman, we're looking toward the Vikings. You had intimated that maybe you weren't so confident against the Vikes. We are in Minnesota next time. We're playing away first. What do you think? You're sitting there and you're thinking it's another L?
I'm not sure. At this point, I'm not going to take the Lions out of any game. We're kind of at that point where if they win, I'm not surprised. If they lose, I'm definitely not surprised. But the Vikings, I think, the Lions have looked good against the run the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They've kind of fixed their defense in that way. But I think next week will be the litmus test, the real test. Are they going to handle Dalvin Cook? Are they going to protect the flats, or is Dalvin Cook going to have 110 yards receiving and 120 yards rushing? I think our offense stacks up well against them if they don't look like they did today. But I think the Vikings are always a tough play for the Lions. It's a divisional game. You never know how those are going to go. A team could be 0-15 and burn your ass because it's a divisional game.
Oh,
it's
oh my.
So I'm not gonna give a prediction yet. I'm gonna see how the rest of it goes. We'll get to see Everson Griffin next week, which will be exciting.
That will be huge. And playing against his old team who told them they didn't need him, basically. That'll be fun to see him play that out and how that works.
It will, and it'll be exciting to see how they use him, because the 2 weeks after the bye, they had a pass rush. They were putting emphasis on getting pass rush, and today they got away from that. So we're going to see where they go with that. Are we going to rush the passer? Are we going to rush 3 guys again? Or how are we going to do it? But I would like to see Everson Griffin get used quite a bit.
Right. Yep.
Fresh legs.
I had a couple things here. Let me just move that. First one is Terry Flynn. I'm with you. He says, I've been watching since 1958. I'm just used to it now. They need to rebuild, but I'm too old to go through another. I feel you. It's hard. I think this is a real tough time for the team. I think they're gonna the shakeout of fans is gonna be pretty severe. I think this year, people are not just feeling it so much. Hattori has a great line, and I agree with it 100%. Starter jackets, cigars, and playoffs. I miss the Fonts era. All right. Wax. So I'm gonna use that question. I'm gonna pose that question to Andy. Does this team have the talent to win now with a new regime, front office and coach, or is it a total rebuild?
If you asked me this at the beginning of the year, I would have said that this team needed a full rebuild from the top to the bottom. The more I watch this team now, the less I am concerned about players per se and more about coaching. So because after the bye, we saw how this team can function when they're seemingly put into better positions.
Mm-hmm.
when they're put into better positions, we see a team that can get after the quarterback, a team that doesn't rely on 7-minute, defensive back coverage. A team that is willing to blitz and put themselves out there. We didn't see that today, and we lost handedly. So I think that has something to say about it. But I think that there's enough building blocks on this team where a full rebuild probably isn't in the works. Sure. But we're going to have to get the right guy in to take this team over the hump. And honestly, that's the guy we've been looking for since Caldwell was hired. And we're still looking for that guy. So I'm hopeful that a full rebuild isn't necessary, but gosh, at this point, it's hard to say.
Yeah. It is. I just the big question mark is Matthew Stafford on the whole rebuild piece for me.
Yep.
Such a key piece of the team, so important. And at the kind of waning years of his career, does a new regime spend a year or two getting the players they want in place and then get their quarterback, or do they go quarterback first and run with it? And then who is the quarterback? Because if you're drafting 13th this year, who are you going to get, right? How much gold and treasure do you have to give up in order to get the quarterback you want?
And that's something that we're going to have to talk about because the Lions have almost zero draft capital this year, right? Especially after trading for Griffin.
And who are you trusting?
We have 5 picks.
If we did all this and came up with the best possible consensus choice in Bob Quinn, and I don't think people would trust him to pick the franchise quarterback right now for this team, who do you trust? Who's the new guy that you're going to let? I mean, because you saw what Chicago did with Trubisky, how much treasure they gave up and how it's affected them negatively for so long. And they missed. They swung and missed with a ton of capital. I mean, who do you trust to do that, man? That's crazy. Dan Halsey, Griffin on one side, Okwara on the other, all downs. I think Griffin, if he plays like he 30-year-old Everson Griffin, I'll be stoked. I'll be absolutely stoked. I think it's a help, but I feel a little bit snake bit as well with some of the guys we've signed that haven't performed. And
I think what Griffin will do is he'll relieve Okwara so that both of them can be fresh most of the game rather than a full-time guy. I think he'll be like if you remember back in the Schwartz era, we had Lawrence Jackson.
Low Jack.
And he would come in and he would spell dudes and he would be fresh. I think that's kind of what Griffin's role is going to be here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just doing some work on the fly here as we talk. So yeah, I think the other person that's a big beneficiary is going to be, what's his name? Trey Flowers. I think he's going to be a big beneficiary of Everson Griffin joining the team as well. So fresher guys, when you see things like what we saw here with the playing a whole game of football in one half, I think that'll help having a rotational guy in Everson Griffin and help create that rush that we need, because too many times out there, I mean, we did get pressure. Even again, I mean, they have a great offensive line, and we were able to get pressure. We got to Rivers once or twice in the game. I think a little bit more pressure, a little bit more good work on the outside from like an Everson Griffin. He shows up and he plays well. That bodes well. I mean, I think that bodes well. This defensive line, again, the Colts have a great offensive line, and we showed up and we played some decent football against them in the trenches. It bodes well for the line for the rest of the season. I feel like that's good for the defensive line. I think the offensive line, what happened to them? They got dominated by a good defensive line, but they got absolutely dominated. That was bad. Ugly. That was really bad.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm gonna have to look when I rewatch the game, but we didn't see a lot of blitzing today. We saw a little bit of blitzing early, and it worked for us. And then they seemingly got away from it. They faked a bunch of blitzing. We had a lot of guys on the line that would back out into coverage. We had Jared Davis in a bunch today. I'm interested to see his snap count. I feel like he was out there a bunch, but there was tons of times where he was in a blitzing position and backed out into zone coverage, which is literally his worst possible position to be put in. And it burned us a few times. There was a couple long third downs that they converted that were kind of on Davis's coverage as the middle linebacker, where if he had blitzed, it wouldn't have been his responsibility, but he didn't, and he only backed out 5-6 yards on a 10-yard pass play. You know, it's interesting to see, you know, the movement of the players based on what they're trying to do against certain teams. The last, 2 weeks after the bye looked great, blitzed the most we've ever seen them blitz. This week they didn't blitz and they looked bad. You know, I'm interested to see how they use their players, especially once Griffin comes in, to get pressure and to get, on the quarterback, even against good O-lines like the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. And because that's absolutely a key point. They just have to play better against those good teams. And it goes to the kind of the core makeup of this Lions team, in that they are very much a 8-8 team. They're very much a team built right now with the talent that are going to they're going to win against bad teams, but they're going to struggle against the good ones. And they may win one on one side and lose one on the other, but it's just not a compelling group of people playing these games. And so to the long way back to that question, is it a complete rebuild? It's pretty big. I think it's a pretty big project to rebuild this team in somebody else's image. I think we got a lot of good players on defense, but I mean, yeah, I'm screaming linebackers. Everson Griffin isn't going to be around. He's in a long-term solution, right? We need something on the edge. We need wide receivers. I mean, we need a lot of pieces. And we're eventually going to need a quarterback here as well. As much as I love Stafford, I don't think guys playing in their late 30s is the norm. I think that's an exception to the rule more than anything else. Andy, why don't you read your little chat? I want you to get credit for it. I mean, I'll say it if you want. I mean, it's okay.
I was trying to find a way to work it in, and I couldn't. But the whole time we were watching this game, and they brought up like, oh, Phillip Rivers had to move all 9 of his kids to Indianapolis, and they were playing in the fall leaves. All I could think is that the Lions are Rivers' 10th kid, because he's our daddy, baby. he really took it to us today.
Phil Rivers, of all people. Oh, thank you, Michael, for the super chat. I think it might be a super sticker. I can't tell the difference. I'm not smart. But thank you. Thank you, Michael, very much. Appreciate that. Lions are probably in the worst position a franchise can be in, stuck in no man's land with a trade deadline tomorrow and low draft capital with a lame duck regime. The good news is I think the trade deadline is the 3rd, Tuesday. So we've got a whole extra day than you thought, Michael.
It's going to be interesting. A lot of people said that the Lions appear to be buyers right now. And I mean, they bought Everson Griffin.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be indicative of what Sheila thinks about what's going to happen later down this year. If she allows, Quinn to get rid of draft capital for win now material, sounds scary. To be honest, sounds pretty scary.
Yeah,
risky.
I don't know that I have confidence in our next GM, and I don't even know who it is.
I'd say that based on our track record, you're probably right.
Not that I have a whole lot of confidence right now, but the results, man, this is the thing that's killing me, is the results just aren't there. And there's been a lot put into this team. There's a lot of effort on how they're scheming, how they're doing things, getting some really good players. Penasini is just killing it out there, right? These guys, you just see so many good picks, so many good players. I mean, Tavai, it's something different, right? But you see so much good stuff going on, but the gameplay is no different. Nothing changes, and it's so frustrating. Oh, big question, Sam. Dad's hand, is his hand okay?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Just a little knuckle action.
What happened? Did you see? I didn't see when he injured it.
I think it was. I think he was scrambling, and I think his knuckle got hit on a face mask. Nothing too outrageous, but
yeah, he kept the shoulder in socket. That's good news.
Yeah, it's our only real concern.
Oh man. All right, let's think about this. Teams are close. They aren't even near being close. Controversy about how is getting Griffin different to getting snacks. They're not going to help us in the long term. Not at all, George.
Nope.
They are a Band-Aid, but that's what we're talking about. The Lions were buyers when they made that. I think the Lions made that purchase thinking they were winning today. And so this puts a little, again, this scrambles the eggs a little bit. And this is such a feeling of being a Lions fan. So many times when you get to this game, we said this was pivotal, right? Because this is going to tell us who this team is. If we have this trajectory where we're getting better and we're climbing the ladder and beating better teams, the Colts was the next step up, right? They're 5-2 now. They're a good team. In 2020, in the situation everybody's in, they're a good team. I think historically in football, they're not a great team at all, but this year they're a good team. We didn't beat them. And we needed this win. And now it says exactly who we are as a team. I saw that tweet. That was your tweet, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, Marvin Hall.
It's true, though. This was the game that if the Lions won, then we had the feeling that maybe this turnaround is real, right? The Colts are a good enough team that if we beat the Colts, we say, okay, we're at least competing with middle-of-the-pack teams to slightly above average teams. And that's what you need to do to make it into the playoffs. You don't get into the playoffs only beating bad teams, generally.
Right.
So to get mollywopped like we did today kind of gives us all the indications that we need and kind of shows that maybe the Griffin trade was a little premature. I don't think necessarily it's a bad trade per se, but it like Chat was saying, it's not a future move. This isn't something that's going to help us 2 years from now when we're hopefully actually competing for something. It's a now move on a team that's going nowhere seemingly. And that's, one more, knock on Bob Quinn and the staff here.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, he's a locker room ad. He's not just a player ad, right? Not just an edge guy that hopefully retains all his talent. He's a guy that brings a lot of character, a lot of juice, as they call it, to the locker room and to the team. He's got a lot that he brings, and today just really scrambled our eggs.
Yeah.
It really just really caused a problem, because now there's no question that we'd have to steal one in the Packers, Titans, Bucks trio of games there. Yep. And I don't feel it. I don't feel it seeing this the team.
I mean, it's always NFL football. Anything can happen any week. It's a crazy league like that. But that being said, generally speaking, bad teams are bad teams and good teams are good teams, and that's sadly the Lions have been a bad team for quite a while.
1958, Terry started watching. The Terry curse. I'm just giving you a hard time, Terry.
Cyprian says win over Atlanta was fool's gold. It was a game they should have won against a defeated team. But yeah, I mean, it kind of was. And if you watch last week's post-game stream here, I think we knew that it wasn't great because the way we won was super fluky, but at the same time, a win's a win, so you should be happy about it. But, that's kind of how the season goes. They theoretically should have beat the Bears with that last second touchdown throw. They did beat the Falcons when all the Falcons had to do was take a knee and, 100% win probability. Yeah. I think the NFL somehow seems to find its level like water in that way, and so, we should take the wins that we can get. But at this point, I think, we're going to see a lot of fans that are saying, I hope we don't win any more games. We need to stay where we are, get a high draft pick. We're obviously not going anywhere. And then you've got the other fans that are win when you can take them. Winning's fun, regardless of what your record is. And, I'm kind of team winning, to be honest, but we'll see.
We've got how many games left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left. Only 3 of them are away. That does not bode well for us.
Not the 7-game losing streak, right? Holy smokes.
Now with that Atlanta team just beat the Panthers, right? Which they're not a fabulous team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they went out and lit up, a Super Bowl, the Chiefs or anything. But we've got the Panthers coming by, what is it, the distribution property We should be able to beat the Panthers. So we're not stuck at 3 wins, guys. Right? Right?
No.
Right? Somebody.
No.
All right. Do they save DNA? We need Clone Barry, Megatron, Jason Hansen, Alex Karras, and Chris Spielman. God, yeah. Mike Hodges, love you, man. He 11 games left. He's an edge rusher and an edge rusher who we've seen beat us single-handedly. Griffin could make a big difference. Yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing. It's Mike. I love Mike's heart. I really, really do, because he's in a great spot with it. I love that. But coming out of this game was so important. This one hurts me. Me more than the Packers game when everybody was all freaked out, or the Saints game. Those didn't bother me as much, but this one really, really gets under my skin, because this is a game that, look, it says who we are, like I said, and I don't like who we are.
I do agree, generally speaking, that a good edge rusher will make a huge difference for a team. I think the hard part is that we don't know what defense we're running, which is super crazy. This is year 3, and we still don't know what our defensive identity is. Are we a blitzing team? Not really. Are we a get the quarterback with 4 pass rushers team? No, not really.
Are we a hard-hitting team? Right? I mean, because when we started out against Atlanta, right? We were coming in the Jaguars too. The defense was really setting a tone. I saw like 2 or 3 plays early where they tried to do that this week, and then they just kind of gave up on it, and it was like back to.
That's what I mean, Chris. It's hard. It's hard to know, how are they going to use Griffin? Are they going to use him the same way that they were planning on using,
he's going to
Julian Okora? They're
going to use him like what's his face used Ziggy Ansah. He's going to be back in coverage.
Yeah. No, our coverage guy is Flowers, man. Don't you? He's batting. He has more batted passes than Jeff Okuda does.
Yeah. I'm not going to rip on Okuda. I like the pick. I think he's going to be good. He's been trial by fire.
Oh man, he's been put up against it. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, Julio. I mean, the Jags was probably the one game he didn't have a top receiver he's playing against, and then T.Y. Hilton went out today. So other than that, he's just been through the grinder this year. This guy is getting a hell of an education, though. He comes out the other side, learns, remembers to forget. He'll be okay. He'll be in really good shape.
He's got to have that snail memory or goldfish memory.
Yeah. I see you wearing the shirt. Is that what you're trying to forget?
This is my pumpkin shirt.
Oh. I like what it does to the green screen.
Yeah.
A little bit of psychedelics going on. All right. Hey, Mike, you said only 9 left when he said 11 the first time he came back in the chat. And I was like, no, I thought you meant the 2 playoff games too, but okay. Mike's a happy guy. He's a go-getter. So I was like, okay. Hail Mary formation, guys. Caldwell. Oh, God. All right. We'll open up the calls one more time. 248-782-8384, 248-782-8384, or you can use Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, and give us a call. With that call going out, Sam, man, I'm gonna ask you to just kind of pontificate, share what you got on the team, what's your outlook, and then somewhere in there, weave a little therapy in for our friends.
Like you said earlier, Chris, this was probably the loss that impacted me the most. I was legitimately frustrated about this loss. And I've been pretty dull this whole season as far as, oh, we lost to the Packers, bummer. Oh, we lost to the Saints, bummer. It kind of was what it was. But this game felt a little different. And I think that this team is close, but it's a weird kind of close, right? It's a few minor things here or there. There's never really been a, feel good about this team moment.
Yep.
This year. I mean, the Jags game was great, but we all know that the Jags are the Jags, and that's, and while winning against any NFL team is a big deal, the Jags wasn't that big of a deal.
Speaking of.
But, I think that there's still some stuff that can be built on here. I still have hope that this team can continue to grow as a team, which is what it looked like 2 weeks after the bye. They looked fresh. They looked like they were a group. I don't know what happened today. They did not look like that at all. They kind of looked flat, as we said earlier. They looked slow. We still have to deal with Tavai out there on the field doing God knows what.
He's always a fourth man in.
But I think that some of the stuff that we thought about Patricia early is not as true as we thought it was, where we thought that the locker room was just a disaster. I think these guys are playing for each other. I think they are playing for coach, but we've just got to get over these humps. And it's just been way too up and down. You know, we need to start seeing some consistency. 1 week we have a defense that looks great, and then 1 week we don't. And then 1 week we have an offense that looks great, and then the next week it looks literally terrible. And, outside of Kenny Galladay going down today, it's basically the same offense every week, and really it just shows how big of an impact Kenny Galladay has. And, we're what, 1-3 without him?
Yeah.
If you count today as without him, that's not great.
Yeah. The thing that gets me the most about today's game is that flatness. This is so Lions. This has been happening for I don't know how many coaches. You always start out in the ditch and you got to dig yourself out, and it's like you get back up on the road and it's like, yep, now we're just going to have to hit the accelerator and we're going to be driving, and you get this after cleaning up the mess you made in the first place, you get to a point where now it's just this one thing, and it's the trigger to go forward and really make it. And they come out and they just shit the bed. Whether it's a national, televised game where they're high flying, getting all the press in the beginning talk. Surprising Lions team really put it on this year. This team has a chance. You hear those words, you know that the Lions are going to lose that game 100% of the time. 100% of the time. And it's what I saw today, a team that came out, and this is that statement game. This is that one that says we're a better team than everyone said we were 4 games into this season. We're a better team than people think we are. We are a team that is living up to what people said at the beginning of the season, that this team actually has a chance, and they come out flat. They did it with Caldwell. They did it with Schwartz, too. They've done it so many times. They've just come out and not been able to get the deal done when it needs to be done. And it's so frustrating because you would expect once in a while you're going to win that game. Once in a while you'll pull it out.
And, what's funny about that is that we've had former players on Twitter and other things say, well, like, don't count these players, towards the same old Lions. Same old Lions isn't a thing that exists. But, I mean, it kind of does. Like you said, this flat team has been a Lions staple forever. We did it with Caldwell against the Bengals, the year that we should have made the playoffs. All we had to do was beat the hapless, Bengal team, and we lost big time. It happened today. It's happened a million times.
Yep.
And what's
and it's
the
never
deal?
It's never an eked out or squeaked out loss either, right? It's just a convincing spanking that says, why did I even believe in the first place, right? It's and that's the thing. If it's like, you got the 10-second run up, we got screwed, right? No, it's like, wow, we're just not that team that we thought we were. All right, let me hit a couple of super chats, and thank you very much, Dan. Did you see the BS attempt by Harris on Indy's first touchdown? I think that's indicative of the effort in this defense. Big hit over fundamental form tackle. Absolutely. It was the dumbest move minus giving your own player a concussion, right?
Yeah, literally didn't even extend his arms out. It was 100% shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it was Harmon is what you mean, not Harris. But,
yeah.
But the entire defense on that play, actually, I tweeted about it, was awful. Tavai was jogging. 2 other dudes were,
he was running
seemingly trying to not get in each other's way. Like, oh no, you get the tackle. Oh no, you. It's like 2 guys in the outfield trying to catch the same ball,
right? And
it just falls in between them. Just outrageous.
Tavai was at full speed. Come on, man.
Had the afterburners on and everything.
Yeah. Mellow Mo. I don't know if that's Mo from the Creek or not, but he says the refs aided at least 2 of their touchdowns. I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that, but it still doesn't make a difference. We lost. The game was lost on the interception from Matthew Stafford. That one just, that pick six was it. That was just the nail in the coffin that finished the game. The refs, I can complain about them, but it's still, this is not a game that I can blame the loss on the refs. I can say that the refs were terrible though, and it's worth some conversations.
Yeah, I don't know what rough crew we had today, but yeah, not great. There was, I'd rather have and it sounds weird, but I'd rather have an overactive reffing crew than the crew that we had today at the beginning of the game, and then one that like turns it on at the end of the game.
Yep.
Just at least be consistent about it. No holding calls at all today, which is crazy. Lots of weird stuff where our guy was clearly blocked into the punt returner, and just completely whiffed it.
And that was
just, a lot of weird stuff. And that stuff, it's hard to say the refs gave them this game, and I probably wouldn't say that.
Right.
But that stuff adds up.
Yep.
They got a touchdown off of it, the same that we got a touchdown off of, the Matt Stafford hit to the head against the Falcons.
I thought that was a sound call, though. I thought that was a good call within the rules of the game. It sucks that it's the rules, but I think that it is the rules.
Oh, no, I agree with the Falcons call. I'm just saying, that's kind of the way the NFL goes sometimes.
Yeah. Whether
it was the right call or not, or, who's to say. I thought that the defensive pass interference on Coleman, the 41-yarder, was, a little suspect. I thought he got his head around in time to look at it, but, that happens.
And then there was the exact same play going the other way that it went uncalled, right? I mean, again, I'm not here to complain about the refs, but I was like, that was just the roles reversed. That was, our wide receiver, and I don't remember who was on the coverage, but was, got there early, hand in between the two arms, or the same exact way. It was the same exact play, and it was at their 1 yard line towards the end. But I was like, why isn't that one called? It's the exact same thing. It's literally exactly the same bodies in the exact same position doing the exact same things. Why is that not called? If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's not, it's not. Please be consistent. Please. And that's where, like, when you say you want more calls, you want them to call it tighter, that's what I think it is. Just call it consistently, right? And when they call them tighter, it's consistently tight. When they rarely make calls and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what a pass interference is, right? They haven't defined it, and that's what we saw today. It was poorly. Jones in the hall. Thank you, Matthew. That was the pass play I was referring to. You just wind up with a situation where the refs are probably telling themselves we're going to let them play, and then you see the things that we saw, and that Danny Shelton penalty though that's inexcusable. This is one of those things. The thing that always bothers me the most about refs is when they throw a flag for something that didn't happen, because they literally didn't see anything, but they thought it happened and threw a flag, right? And that to me is, if you didn't see it, it didn't freaking happen, right? Period. The Danny Shelton thing, that was like, oh, we've got to throw a flag. There's pushing and shoving. That's what we got to do, and then they couldn't figure out what to do. Well, you could have said Phil Rivers punched the motherfucker, right? I mean, that's where a good penalty would come in, but no, not at all. They just they don't call them that way, I guess. It's and they throw the flag, 10 seconds after the play's over and at the end of the scuffle. That's when it's time to throw the penalty. Yeah,
the worst.
Jeez,
yeah, and the two closest guys didn't throw the flag. Just classic.
Yeah. Call what we don't see. That's the way we like it. All right. With that, I think we're going to call it, my friend. You okay?
I'm okay.
All right.
I think, check me out on Twitter. I'm going to have way more to say about this game after I rewatch it, but painful.
Sandman7773, right? On Twitter?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, give him a follow.
You got it. Nailed it.
Make sure you give him the follow. He deserves it. And there won't be Soul Lights this week. But
probably not.
Anytime there is, that's where you find them.
That's right.
Awesome, man. All right. So, and then we're going to see you Friday. I got to talk about cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. If you've got anxiety, you've got a little bit of insomnia, a little bit of sleep, you're not able to sleep through the night kind of a thing, and or you got a little bit of pain, the cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com is the place to go. I'm getting tons and tons of people contacting me afterward and saying this stuff works awesome. And I'm like, I told you so. Great stuff. Sandman disappeared into the weed. It's legal in all 50 states. It's not weed. It doesn't get you high. It's not THC. It's the hemp plant that with all the good stuff of it minus the high. Takes care of, like I said, anxiety, sleep issues, and pain. The cream works absolutely fabulous. It's good stuff across the board. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. They give us kickback when you buy it, but not only I'm a member, I'm the president or whatever. I don't know. This is the Delta 8 stuff, this is the best stuff they got. I'll tell you straight up. It's the chill line of gummy squares. Those things just take care of everything, make you all better. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Get your stuff and get going. This week's schedule, we'll talk about that really quick. We will be doing a show. I'm not sure if it'll be Tuesday because there's some other stuff going on Tuesday. It might be the Wednesday this week that we do a show. I want to get one in, even though we're doing one Friday, because to be honest, I think next week's show we're gonna do the Sunday post game. I think we'll want to take some time off, just like the week show, because we're gonna be tired.
Tired. We're very, very tired.
24 hours of talking takes a lot out of you. So we'll see what we can do. But we definitely want to get a show in this week, so we'll have one. We will absolutely have one on Friday. Friday will include the game preview. Sandman's going to join us for a while. We're going to get him in there. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, and I got to tell you, the CBD thing, Diamond CBD came in, and they've sponsored 10 hours of the show. Ooh. There's going to be a boatload of giveaways. They're becoming a really, really good partner. I forgot about all that, right? I'm all thinking about how great their stuff is, but yeah, they came in hot. So good stuff. That's CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Support them because they are definitely supporting us in the St. Jude thing. We also have up to $150 in matching donations, folks, for this show here today while we're broadcasting. So get over there to St. Jude. Oh my God. StJude.org/DLP. Let's Christmas for the kids. Let's help them out and let's take advantage of those matching funds. Really appreciate all that. Take care of that. With that, I think we're going to call it a show. Watch Andy on the old tweeter machine, and we'll talk to him Friday. We'll get to follow up on that as well. All right. With that, we'll call it a show. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, we're looking for your involvement. Go use the comments in the subreddit. Let us know what you think about the show and how you like it and how you don't. Also, don't forget about some Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get access to the Slack chat, which is the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet, by donating $1 or more a month. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Thanks to everyone who does that, including you, Mike, and your happiness. I love that. Also Facebook, I said that, I think Facebook.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, or the Detroit Lions Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast. Give us a follow. And Sandman 7773. That's the very best place to see Andy
with no pants on.
If you want to see what a Stafford pant free man looks like, Sandman 7773. Give us a call on Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. We'll get your message. We'll get you on the show. And if you want to start a topic, you want us to talk about something in particular, just give us a call, and you can, we'll discuss it at length, because that's how we do everything, with length. Be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast so we can show up in your earbuds automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems. Because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.